Hey guys, Kevin, Catherine. Catherine, have you ever been down to Louisiana or any of the country down there where they speak French?
I mean, it's
Don't,
kind of French. Yeah.
Kevin, don't laugh down there because you'll be in big trouble. It's Cajun French, but it's a form of French. Annie grew up down in that country, and
So she speaks French.
no, she doesn't speak, but she grew up down there, so she heard it all the time. And I said, "Well, do they speak French down there?" And she said, "Well, it's Cajun French, but yeah, that's what they speak in that country down there."
Canada thinks they speak French too.
What's that?
Kind.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Well, they migrated from Western France to it was Canada, wasn't it Canada? Back in when? When was it's been almost 300 years, yes. Something like that.
No, it's
And
it's
then
French. It's just that they have a very strong accent. So even for me, it's not easy to understand.
I'm sure.
Well, we think we speak English too, and the Brits would
Yeah.
beg
Well, we
to
do.
differ.
The thing that amazes me is that the English spoken in northern Indiana, where I come from, happens to be the only form of English which has no accent. All other forms of English have accents, but not us. Don't you think that's true?
Yeah, same thing in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's it. Wherever you're from, we don't have an accent. It's everybody else who's got accents.
I tell you, the strongest accent I've ever heard is from Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
I don't know that area.
It's the most southern drawl and
Really,
backwoods, you know.
backwoods drawl. Well, I sort of like the southern drawl myself, but it can get so thick that it's actually hard to understand.
I think it's that tinge of racism and redneck behind it.
Well, yeah, that too. You know why they call them rednecks?
Because of the
Why,
sun.
Catherine? Why? Tell
Why?
me
Oh,
why.
I don't know why, but I know the expression. I don't know
Because
why.
they call them rednecks because they were farmers and
Uh,
they were out plowing the fields and they would get a really good redneck
Sunburn.
sunburn. All right. Well, most of the people in Missouri also do Tai Chi and Qigong, so I think we should get into it. Let's do the first section. Okay, Catherine, let me see you do it.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Uh, something I didn't say in the earlier class, but I think is because I didn't want to get into a big lecture, but I think actually maybe I should have, but I'm going to say it now. When you're doing the Hunyan Qigong, like we did earlier, pay some attention to the pads of your fingers. All right. I'm not saying in a way do much with them. Just pay some attention to them. The pads of the fingers are where we touch the world. So it's right on the interface between inside and outside. And it's not the only place in the body that's like that, but it's a very, very important place. So when you're doing any of these, any exercise, all right, pay attention. Feel the pads of the fingers. So, Catherine, do you know why a cat has whiskers? Why a
Um,
cat has whiskers?
it's because of he needs them for his equilibrium, no? It's balanced.
Yes, they're sensory organs,
Yeah.
right? So cats usually, at least before they got domesticated, hunt at dark, or they hunt either early in the morning or late at night. And they need those big whiskers because the whiskers give them information as they're running through the brush, whether they're going to bounce into something or not. It's the same with the pads of the fingers. The pads of the fingers are a way to feel the world. Awareness of the pads of the fingers will make certain things happen. All right. So I don't know whether you can see this. All right. Can you see how the tips of my fingers are kind of swollen and red?
Yeah.
That's just from mentally being more aware of them and just letting your body relax into them, so to speak. So what does this have to do with Tai Chi? When you do Tai Chi, you should be doing Qigong. So you immediately, as soon as you begin to move, have some awareness, right, of the pads of the fingers. The pads of the fingers are reaching out to feel the world. When you're swimming, when you go swimming, when I was a kid, I grew up by a lake, and we went swimming. We went swim as soon as the ice was gone. We were in there swimming, even though it was still freezing cold, right? And we'd swim all summer. When you're swimming, especially when you're a kid and it's all new and wonderful, you just intuitively feel the water on different parts of the body. Like, one of the first things I learned to do is just tread water. All right. You tread water, you turn the veins of the hand, and then you turn the veins of the hand back. All right. And of course, when you do that, it's going to make a little pressure on the inside of the palm as you tread the water. You can feel that pressure. You can also feel a little vacuum on the trailing side, the following side. The same thing happens when you do Tai Chi. All right. I feel a little pressure on the top as I raise here, because the truth is I'm actually creating more pressure there. There's a real pressure, and by moving this way in it, I'm creating a little more pressure on the top and a little bit of a vacuum underneath. This is very small, but you can perceive it. And then as I change and come down, now I feel the pressure on the inside, right? So when I'm lifting, I feel it on the outside. When I'm coming down, I feel it on the inside. What I'm saying, in other words, is Qigong and Tai Chi are very sensual. They are very, very sensual. I've told you this story before, but I'll tell you again. I was talking with Chen Shang once with a group of guys, and we were talking about Qigong. And one of the guys asked Chen Shang, why do we do so much Qigong in this particular style of Tai Chi? And Chen Shang sort of laughed and he said, well, of course, for this reason and this reason and this reason. He said, but of course, the real reason we do it is it's better than sex. And all the guys laughed, ha 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 ha, and he laughed too. But then he said, "Now, really, guys, I'm serious. Sex is a form of qigong. Qigong is the bigger category. Sex is just one version of Qigong, right? And Tai Chi is another version. When you do Tai Chi, it should be as sensual as being with your lover. So yesterday we were talking about, how can I say, like the bones of the movement. The bones, huh? Pong, Lu, on, Chi. But you don't want to be thinking about all that when you do the form. What you want to be is feeling the sensuality of it, right? I feel it here. Huh? Now I feel it here. Now I feel it in the pads of the fingers. It's very sensual. Think of this is one of the reasons why I keep talking about air pressure. Right? This is a 12-pound weight. This isn't heavy enough, right? It should be 14 pounds. Every square inch of your body has this on it. Every square inch. Here, let me put it down and make some noise. So when you move, you're in that matrix. Right? You're in that water. I think this is especially true of modern humanity. We think there's nothing there because you can see through it and you can walk through it and you're just used to it. A fish doesn't see the water that he's in, right? But when you do Tai Chi and Qigong, you should become aware of it. And when you move the right way is not so much physical, it's mental. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in something. I'm lifting it. I'm moving sideways in it. I'm compressing it. I'm compressing it even more. And I'm reaching out. Watch my fingers. I'm reaching out to touch this. And if you pay attention, you can feel it. Yeah, Kevin.
When I was younger and doing Kung Fu, I used to do the forms in the water. And that was probably one of the, well, it's really close to what you're talking about, but it really changes things immensely because you're aware of different things.
Exactly. It's not the beauty of Tai Chi doesn't come from technical perfection. It comes from seeing someone's consciousness expressed in their body. Some of the best musicians in the world are not the best technicians, but they have so much soul because they're there in the music. Now there are also great musicians who have a lot of soul and also are technicians, but some of the best singers, think of Billie Holiday, right? I love Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday had a very constricted range, but she certainly knew how to use it because she filled it with feeling. So when you do Tai Chi and Qigong, you fill this space, right, with feeling. You feel it. It's sensual. So I wanted to say that to balance out all that technical work we were doing yesterday. All right. Oh, pong, lu, on, ji. Okay, that's important to know, but that's in service to something else. Take your time. What do you have to learn to be a good lover? You don't start life as the world's greatest lover.
That's for sure.
Right. And so you have to learn. And I don't know about the rest of you, but for me it was about learning to stop rushing, to just slow down and enjoy being in company with somebody that you love. All right? And that you that you want to touch and be touched by. All right? Slow, sensuous, enjoyable. Anyway, think about that when you're doing your Tai Chi. All right, let's go on to move number two. So let's just practice it a couple of times, and then I know Catherine has been working on this at home and breaking it down into the yin parts and the yang parts and the yin and yang cycles. So we'll go through and see what she thinks. All right. So let's start it here, which is technically the right place to start. Sink, not in this leg, in this leg. Sink in the back leg, right? And then transfer that to the left leg. So you're going like this. Now, watch the right hand. Goes clear over to the left side. This hand is actually going to be the lead hand going back. So you want to wind up so that you can go back. Sink in the right leg. Transfer the sink to the left leg. Now, watch this hand. Goes clear past the center line. And then sink again in the right leg and push this hand backward while this hand goes out. And then fold in. All right, that little sequence there is actually very difficult. It's one of the more difficult sequences in the whole form, and it's just right there in the second move. It's difficult to do physically. Much better. Now, one additional thing, Catherine, watch. All right, so I'm going to do this move. And then before you do anything else, turn your head and look straight ahead where you're going. Then sink, right? Push, all the way to the left. Watch what happens with this. This is really the power hand in this move. Someone's coming in to punch. Boom. Right? This hand is going to add in, but it can't really add much power in until you go past your own midline. Then it can add some real power in. The real power comes from this hand. All right? Does that make sense, Kevin? Sink. Transfer the sink to the other side. Sink. Transfer the sink to the other side. I know you get the idea, but I just like the tape. Sink in the blue. Now you don't come up again and then go over like that. You sink in the blue and then you rock over to the red. Rock. Rock. Good. This is a ball. All right? You rock it down. Rock. Rock. If you go over, one, it'll take too long, and two, you'll pick up your Dan Qian and it'll, right? Yeah. If you go over, watch what happens with the Qi in this leg. If I go over, I'm pulling myself up out of the ground. You can't do that in martial arts. You've got to stay grounded. So instead, if you want to go over to the left leg, you go under. Right, left, right. 90% of the weight shifts are like that. Now, there are weight shifts where you go over, but you have to learn how to do it. All right? This one is under, under, under. Yes. Yeah, now she's starting to look like a martial artist. Good. Kevin, can you see the difference in what she's doing?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Under. Watch what happens with my midline. Because this particular move is very difficult, and this is why it's difficult. But it's also really good exercise for your overall Tai Chi, because it's asking you to do some things that are a little more extreme than a lot of the rest of the Tai Chi in this first move. All right, watch the midline. You're not doing this. You're going past. Look what happens with my knee. All right, it's spiraling outward. Yeah, Kevin.
One thing, Catherine, if you would move your left leg a bit this way. Yeah, yeah, it makes that transfer easier. You got more space and you're more stable. You're not like on the line.
So what Kevin is talking about is making sure, yeah, making sure that there's some distance between your heels. Now, here comes the really hard part. We haven't gotten to the hard part yet. The hard part is to have control of your hips and your waist. And they are not the same thing. For most people in movement, at least at the beginning, the hips and the waist are locked together. They can't move their waist without moving their hips. They can't move their hips without moving their waist. But in fact, they're independent. They're not completely independent, but they're partially independent, particularly when you think of the waist as the energetic waist. The physical waist can only turn a few inches without having to shift your hips, all right? But your energy waist can actually spin 360 degrees, even though your physical waist can't. But you still have to work on the physical mechanics of this, because without getting the physical mechanics right, you won't have the foundation on which the energy can really work. So, yes.
The exercise that we do in I think it's Qigong, when you say the waist exercise, I never understood this exercise. I never really understood what you were meaning by it. I mean, I'm doing it, but I'm doing it all wrong.
Are you talking about this exercise?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Well,
it looks like very simple, but obviously I don't get it.
Um, you could say that this move is an application of that exercise. What's difficult about this move, guys, is the arrangement of your feet and your stance. If we were just doing this side to side, it would be easier. But we're doing it with the left foot forward, and that puts a big wrinkle in the whole thing. All right? It's much more difficult physically, and it's more difficult to understand the geometry of what's going on. But we've only got a few minutes left. Let's talk about the Shin Yi. So you're going to be doing 2 circles. 1, 2, through, right? What are you doing on those 2 circles? They're very similar, but they have different purposes. And it's the purposes that make them a little bit different. The first one is you're redirecting a punch. So some guy's trying to punch you in the nose. Here comes his punch in like this. You got to be quick when you do this. His punch is coming in. You reach up and you grab it at the hand. You don't grab his wrist like this. You just sort of squeeze it. All right. 1. And now my weight is over here on the left. His energy is coming in this direction, right at me. All I want him to do is miss my face. I don't have to make him go clear over there. All I have to do is shift him 3 or 4 inches. So in a way, you can do this simply by putting your hand up in palm, right? But let's do it the right way. The punch comes in, you move toward it. Why would you move toward a punch? Well, a punch is meant to be delivered at a certain distance. If you move in closer, he can't punch you. He could shift to his elbow, right? But you move toward his punch, intercept it, and now you move back. That's the main reason you move forward, is so that you can move back. And this hand does most of the work. This hand is just going to follow. All right, so here's his arm coming in. Huh? You grab, and then you come behind. If you come at the elbow, you break his arm. But if you come just above the elbow, right, now you can chin on him down to the ground, for instance. But the point is, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's right. You're using your weight. The tricky part is getting into position to do this. Watch, I'm going to show you what almost everybody does. Everybody does this at the beginning. I've never seen anybody not do it, and you're doing it too. Is they don't really turn their hips. So they do this. What you need to do is your camera's breaking up, so I can't see you. Go. You're sort of moving like this, right? Let me, while your camera fixes itself, let me show you this. It's a circle. Watch down here. What happens is people try to do that, but they do it with a flat tire. It's like they're trying to drive with a flat tire. Much better. Much better. Now, Catherine, right now you're watching yourself, which is okay. This is part of the learning process. But remember, this is about interacting with the outer world. So, using your eyes and your head motion has a lot to do with what happens to your center line. Watch. I'm gonna do it just looking at myself first. Just that's okay for a
This is not
beginner.
good.
But it's going to produce a certain kind of motion. Remember, there's a guy who's trying to punch you in the nose right here, right? So you've turned, you've looked at him, and you see him, right? Try it. Now turn and look at the guy who's punching you in the nose. He's clear over on your left. He's yeah. Yes. Now that may seem like a little thing, but I got to tell you, almost everybody does that move wrong. All right, but that was pretty damn good. All right, good. We got that. We conquered today. All right. So practice.
I don't mind going like millimeter by millimeter. I don't mind. I just want it right. I just want.
That's
it's okay with me if I go slow.
That's what makes you a good student. You have an awareness of and an appreciation of craft. That is the missing element for most people in Tai Chi and Qigong. Yes, it's an art. Yes, it's a science, but it's also a craft. And you can be a brilliant scientist and a wonderful artist, but if you don't have craft, your stuff is going to be so-so, right? Having the patience to get the craft is really the secret of the higher levels of Tai Chi. So what you just did was very good.
Thank you.
Practice it up this week, and we'll finish this move next week. Yeah, Kevin.
So I'm theoretically was a scientist, and I used to always, and I don't have a PhD, but I used to always run into the PhD people who are freaking brilliant, but you get them into the lab to execute, and they just could not do it. Yeah. You know, and I got to the point where I don't know if you know, a milliliter is 1,000 microliters.
Right.
You know, and there's roughly 30 milliliters in an ounce. You know, anyway, so I was able to pipette accurately. 5 microliters, sometimes even 2 microliters. Because you test it with radioactivity. You count the number of counts. You go, yeah, that's a tiny. And these guys could just not do it.
Yeah.
And they're telling you don't understand. And I go, yeah, but I can do this.
But I can actually do it where you can't. Well, it's nice. It's nice to have the full spectrum, right? It's good to be a scientist. It's great to be an artist, but it's really truly wonderful to be a good craftsperson, right? And to have all 3 of those, that's what makes you a higher level Tai Chi player. All right, guys, have yourselves a great Sunday. We will see you next time. Ciao.